Television of Iran, which was the first commercial TV in the Middle East. There was one, I believe, governmental one, I think was in Iraq, if I'm not mistaken. But this was the first commercial TV in the whole region. In 1956, I heard that there are rumors that somebody is going to establish a television, commercial TV. On Abbasabad highest hill, it was erected a very tall tower. Mr. Sabit, Habibi Sabit, who was the founder, who actually spent the money to erect that television, and his two sons, nobody else in that station even had seen any television. The building was, I could say, less than 1/3 was built, but the two studios were ready and the master control room was in place, but the whole building, there was no office, there was nothing, everything was under construction. Since television was broadcasting only a few hours at night, so we started very elementary. I think the cameras that we use now, you can find them in the museum. All the programs were live except one or two short films or half-an-hour films that we purchased from America, like Whirly Bird, which was the story of a helicopter, and we had the subtitles. The art or the craft of dubbing was not in Iran yet developed that fast. And at night, we used later on, a couple months maybe later, to rent one of the films which had been shown in the movies, and that was an American or French or English, mainly American film, who were dubbed in the market for cinema and been shown a year or 2 years before. We used to rent them, and on Thursday nights we had a feature film. The strongest opposition was from the religious, what we call the mullahs, very harsh, because Mr. Sabit was Baha'i, and that gave him an alibi to attack the whole government, the whole system. That's why one of the means of the communication was given to such a person. Although we were not political, our news was actually the news of the Pars agency. That was the only thing we should call political, which was totally governmental. The rest of the program, they were entertainment and educational, some way I could say, educational, to teaching women, the women like the women program, or a little bit of cooking, and the children program. Every week in Tawfiq, which was a satire weekly, there was a big article and big cartoon about making fun of television programs. The total income of television was from advertising, which there were not many. There were many commercials from the Sabit companies. 63, when I came back to Iran, still, and they asked me to come and be the director of television that time. I came with a lot of ideas, and I devoted all my time and my friends, and we hired quite a few people that they had studied some television in Europe, and then this was 1963 to 1969 was the good time of television of Iran, Sabit TV. The revenue was increased tenfold. The programming was improved more than 100%. We had many popular American dubbed films, French dubbed films. We had many locally produced programs, a drama, quiz. So it became like one of the local American stations in the, let's say, Indiana or maybe Illinois, local. In the Senate, the senators, they start to criticize this monopoly of television. And behind those criticisms were the big mullahs in Iran, ayatollahs, and also in many, of course it was not like today, but anyway, there were mosques and there were some mullahs over there, and they very openly criticizing television. Is all that this is a Western invention, and secondly, somebody, they call it, outside of the realm of the holiness of the Islamic religion is the owner of it. And they thought that everybody working there is a Baha'i, which was not true. Totally, we were neutral, totally away from politics and religion. Totally. I was called by Sabit, that the Minister of Court, who also was his friend, has called him and said that His Majesty the Shah has resisted these pressures. And Sabit talked to me and asked me to write a letter to His Majesty and explain to him what is the benefits of having a commercial TV and next to it a governmental. Why you do not establish with all the oil money that is there? Apparently he was convinced. And he ordered the Ministry of PTT and the Department of Radio and Propaganda to have a governmental station in 6 months. But this did not happen. Did not happen at the end of the year. I heard in 1965 that Mr. Qutbi, who was the Queen's cousin, very well-educated gentleman from École de France from Paris, to establish this television that the two ministries could not do. And among the first things that he did, he called upon me to go and visit him, and I went to visit him. We talked about, he said, we will be on air maybe in about a year time, but before getting to that stage, we have to get together and do not compete with each other. In 1966, the governmental television was established to start their first elementary or experimental program. And I was asked, I received a message that I have to join the governmental network. That is the future of the country. The Minister of Information was charged with the mission to come and take over Sabit's or purchase Sabit's television and merge it into the governmental. There was one room in the second floor that I had my big office, is always locked. And I asked them, what is this room for? They said, this is for the representative of the government. I said, who is the representative of the government? And they told me, SAVAK. I never heard about SAVAK because the years I was in America, before there was no SAVAK. It was established afterward. Or if that was established before, I was not aware of it. So we had a free time for good many years until many problems were created intentionally by the security forces that to force us to have more lead lines, and have a department to watch any program before going on air. I signed a contract with the National Iranian Psychological Organization that they do every 3 months a polling for, I'm talking about the commercial TV, there was no other. And the questions were about the programs, about the performers, about if they need something, or something of that sort. And so we used to get the feedback, and people easily, because it was not governmental, they were answering very frankly, and that was not political. And that helped us a great deal. We could show that to the commercial agencies, to the sponsors, that based on those, we divided the commercial rates based on the class C, B, A, AA, and they have different rates. So I brought this background from commercial TV to the national TV. After we actually opened many centers and we became really national network, we had to say we have to do this one. A couple of times we tried the Ministry of Higher Education, who were responsible for the entrance examination to the universities. You remember for concours, that they do this for us, but they were not expert in that kind. This actually was the guideline of our programming. We had certain programs like Western classical music, which we had at once a week. We had programs, we call it Iran Zamin, the land of Iran, that was mainly regarding the history, the background, the culture of Iran. After a couple of years of television, the national television, we found out that with the expansion that we have in the plan, there are not enough technicians, especially because in Iran overall, there was shortage of technicians in any area. You had engineers, you had PhDs, you had, BA, MS, but you don't have anything down below. We opened the school, only 2-year school, like a community college, and had 2 branches. One was technical and one was programming. Programming, they would produce assistant program writer, a script writer, and the producers. On the technical side, they were technical director, film people, camera persons, both video and film, and also Kargardan, which is director. This actually was a very fruitful activity we had, and we contributed to the wealth of the nation in the art of cinema, theater, and radio. Then we had one festival which actually was created by, I could say, my people in the part of the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union before I became the Secretary General, and that was the festival of the young Asian filmmakers. That became very popular from Egypt to Australia, from China to, I could say, wherever. Even in Africa, we had all those countries, and Europe. After the Festival of Art in Shiraz, the TUS Festival was a more traditional, not much international, but mainly concerned about the culture of Iran. That was purely Iranian, based on Shahnameh, the history of it, the speakers about Shahnameh, and the other poets of Khorasan, and also the Qahwakhane, the tea houses, and the traditions in the Naqali. It was all due to Ayatollah Khomeini himself, not the rest of them, because he was benefited so much from the messages he used to send by tape. They were audio tapes. And then when he came, and he changed, of course, totally the top echelon of the television, they were either executed or they fled the country or they were fired. And they put their own people there, And he maybe from the first time, and his colleagues, they watched television, but this time they used to see their own picture that they were preaching to the people. And then he said, this, before it was a house of prostitute, now television has become a house of God. Iranians did not believe the newspapers 100 years ago, maybe that 150 years ago, yes. They did not believe the news of radio. They did not believe the news of television. This was something that you have to go to the history of Iran and see what happens to Iran, what was kept away from the people of Iran, what they were revealed later that it was not what they heard. So this was totally in the past distrust, and today that has been 10 times stronger.